G'day everyone, how are you? Thanks for coming today, and it's a real pleasure for me to be up here speaking with this fine group of speakers. First off, I just want you to turn to the person next to you and just ask them what their idea of resilience is. So I'll give you a couple of seconds and I'm going to ask a couple of people what the answer is. Okay, is someone prepared to stick their hand up and what? Okay, we'll go over here. What's your interpretation of resilience?
The ability to keep standing in the face of adversity.
That's pretty good. Yep. That's it. That's pretty good. Does anyone else want to have a crack at it? Yep.
Mine's more colloquial. It's bouncing back.
Bouncing back. Well, that's what I'm here for today. I'm going to share my story of my farming career and how it's got me here today. So as Trav alluded to in the introduction, I was born and bred in Melbourne. My dad was a small business owner. Number of businesses, milk bars, butcher shops, postmaster. And so we moved around a little bit when I was younger. As Trav also said, I was a leader in primary school. I was the bell monitor. I was the captain of Blue House. I was an A-grade student. But then I moved to high school. I left behind my friends at primary school. I was still an A-grade student in year 7, but by the time I got to year 9, my marks had started to fail. I hated school. I didn't fit in. I went to a boys' college and I didn't fit in. I wasn't a superstar footballer. Not then anyway. I soon developed that skill. So I just didn't fit in. And one day we went for holidays into northern Victoria to visit a family that had moved up there. They were friends of ours. They were dairy farmers. And Dad always harboured this ambition to be a farmer. He wanted to get out of the city. He wanted to be a farmer. Anyway, Dad went down the street, looked in the real estate window. This is the September school holidays. By Cup Day, we were packing the van and we were moving to northern Victoria. I relished that. I've looked at it as an opportunity to be able to redefine myself, go somewhere different, find new friends. So I was really looking forward to it. I was very keen. So we moved. I went back to school. I went to school up there. I only lasted another 12 months. So I was in year 10 and I was failing. I went to my mum at the end of the year and said, I do not want to go back. I don't want to resit year 10, because at that stage you used to have to redo it. Now they just let you off. I don't want to do that. She said, the only way you're going to do that, Warren, is to go and get yourself a job. So I jumped on my motorbike and rode around all our roads up there are in mile blocks. I just kept doing mile block after mile block until someone said, yes, I'll give you a job. I'm looking for someone. So that was the start of my farming career. I worked for that guy for 7 years. He taught me everything I needed to know, all through trial and error. If I broke something, I had to fix it. A piece of advice that was given to me by our friends that lived up in northern Victoria was, don't sit idle. Make sure you're doing something. And I know there's one person in the audience that'll relate to this story, but so the first day on the job, my boss said, feed out the hay, feed the cows, lock them in. and then I'll be back and I'll tell you what to do next. Well, an hour had gone by and my boss hadn't come back. So I thought, don't sit idle, be resourceful. So I went and grabbed the shovel, went into the shed and sharpened it as much as I could and looked for the biggest thistle that I could find to start chipping thistles, because that was something that you used to do back in those days. So I found this big thistle, got the shovel and I attacked it. Little did I know that underneath that thistle was the main water line that ran to the dairy. So not only did I learn how to chip thistles that day, but I learned how to fix water lines. So that filled in my first day. But over that 7 years, as I said, my boss taught me everything I needed to know. And on the year that my wife and I got married, we decided that we would look to purchase our own farm. My mum and dad had moved from Merrigan, where we first settled from Melbourne, and bought a little bit bigger farm in Tongala. We found the farm next door and we purchased it, joined it together and created a family business. So I was now in business. I had basically my dream, 7 years of working very hard on a farm, and that was the goal, was to get our own farm. So we're newly married, new business, but little did I know, I'd gone into business with more than just my mum and dad. I had 3 or 4 other business partners, mum and dad obviously being one of them, the banks being another. Mother Nature was the other one. Mother Nature was a business partner that would show her hand a number of times. Everything got off to a great start. I was doing a little bit of off-farm work to supplement our income. And the business was just growing and expanding. But through the first probably 4 or 5 years, it was all rosy. But then things started to decline a little bit. I was very ambitious and wanting to go this way, where Dad was wanting to slow down a little bit and not expand quite as quickly as what I wanted to. So it started causing a little bit of friction within the family. But along the way, as we were going, Mother Nature showed her hand for the first time. So in 1993, on the 5th of October, 20 days before my son, who's sitting in the audience today, was born, our farm got flooded. It was the first time that really on the farm my resilience had been tested. Our farm was underwater for over a week. We had 200 cows at that stage that we had to feed. And I had nowhere to feed them because cows don't like standing in water. So resourcefulness and adaptability, which is a couple of the skills that we learn as farmers and in any other business, I had to learn how to adapt, because one day can be brilliant sunshine, next day can be slogging around in mud. We got through that, but as I said, touched on before, the family unit was starting to break apart. And it was something that I held dearly. Family's number one in our family, and it was really starting to test me as a person. It was affecting me, my mental health, because I didn't envisage that I'd be going into business with my parents and then fighting with them on a daily basis. It got to a stage that with the low commodity prices, high interest rates, all started to compound, as well as the family falling apart. It got to a stage on a cold July night when I'd finished milking the cows that I'd had enough. Logically, in my brain, I had 3 kids and a wife at home, sitting a couple of 100 metres down the road, but I'd had enough. So I decided this was it. I can't go on anymore. So I took a piece of what we call farmer's best friend, which is a bit of hay band, and I tied it up in the dairy, and I stepped up on a bucket. As I said, logically going through my brain was, I've got 3 kids, and I've got a wife at home that loves me, but I'm a failure. My business is falling apart. My mum and dad hate me. I didn't feel that I had anywhere else to go, so I stepped off the bucket. Luckily for me, I'd never been to Boy Scouts. The knot didn't hold. But I was a mess. I'm sitting in a pouring rain outside, sitting in a dairy, wondering, what the have I just done? It was a real reality check for me. So I sat there for about an hour and composed myself, and all the time thinking, I'm better than this. I can make this work. I can fix the problems, because that's what a farmer does. They're a problem solver. So I went home and I talked to my wife and I said, we've got to go on this journey by ourselves. We have to buy mum and dad out. That was the start of our own business, as in we bought mum and dad out, but the problem was that we put ourselves under massive financial pressure. We took on a heap of debt. We were debt levels to here. So I'm talking $800,000 or $900,000. So it was massive pressure. I had to make it work. But I was determined. We set out. So we're in about 1999 now. We set a 10-year plan to how we were going to get out and build our business and make a success of it. Things were going along fantastically well. I'd repaired my relationship with my parents. We'd had another kid, and I forgot to probably say that. I've got 5 kids. So three of them had grown up through that bit, and then my youngest son was born. And our business was starting to really flourish. I was kicking goals. Every target that I'd set, I was exceeding. Everything was building nicely until that bloody business partner showed her head again. Mother Nature decided to stand up and be counted again. In 2002, the start of the worst drought that we probably could possibly have hit us. Once again, I've been battling the mental health issues, but I was determined to overcome them. So through this period, I had to work out a way of overcoming that. So it started with, I had to start with myself. I had to start with the self-leadership. If I was going to lead my family out of this, I had to be strong myself. So I worked through what I thought I needed to work on. And that was, I sought help from not only from people for my personal stuff, but for the business as well. I had to be aware of what was happening around me, as aware of the triggers that were making me not operate at my optimal level. And I just had to be aware of everything around me, what I had at my disposal to be able to get through the drought, which could have lasted a week, it could have lasted a year. As it turned out, it lasted 4 years. So I worked on my mindset, worked on my behaviours, and I was strong. I was strong in myself. I could work the way through this, but at the end of the day, that debt level that we took on was too much. So we had to walk away. We had to make that decision. We had to draw a line in the sand, and we had to step over and say enough's enough. We went from a $200,000 profit to a $250,000 loss in 18 months. Because as a farmer, your responsibilities aren't only just to your family, they're to your animals, they're the things that create your livelihood. So you still had to feed them. You only had one option. You either chopped their heads off or you fed them. And I decided I wanted to feed them. So we were going down the tubes very quickly. So that line in the sand was drawn and we stepped over it and we walked away from our business. We couldn't sell it. We had an asset that was worth over $1 million and we couldn't sell it. We had to walk away. It was still ours, but we couldn't do anything with it. We had no water. We were irrigation farmers. We couldn't water our paddocks. So I got offered a job down in Mount Gambier to go and manage a large enterprise down there. And it sounded good. It sounded like the miracle, the silver bullet, if you like. So we moved away and we went down to Mount Gambier, but it wasn't the same. It was probably a knee-jerk reaction, but losing the farm or having to walk off the farm, not only it wasn't just our home or our business, it was everything. It was our 24/7. Every waking hour was spent on that farm. It was where the kids played. It was where we made money. It was our home. And we had to walk away. So we'd lost our identity. And working for someone else wasn't the same as working for yourself. For yourself. So that didn't last very long. And then over the next 10 years, the ups and downs of another job, try something different. So I tried finance broking. I tried real estate agents, which I did for 3 years as a dairy specialist. All along knowing that I had a bigger game to play. I had a bigger game to play in life. And I wanted to set a course on trying to achieve that bigger game. But once again, 5 years ago, or just over 5 years ago, if you like, Mother Nature played her hand again. And there's nothing more defining or making things clear in your head than having to hold your mum's hand and tell her that the treatment hasn't worked, Mum. There's nothing they can do. That day that I had to do that, I swore to anyone, there's nothing is going to faze me now. That's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. To look into my mum's eyes and say, Mum, that's it. 4 days later, she passed away. So I decided to set on a path that's led me here today. But unfortunately, nearly 12 months to the day, Mother Nature wanted to deal another card. My wife, we were on a walk in the town, stumbling along the footpath, just kicking the cracks in the concrete. I said, are you all right? And she said, I don't know. I feel all right. Maybe it's just those women's problems or whatever it is. So we went to the doctors. We were able to get an appointment in the morning, went to the doctors. The doctor said, you just better go and get a few tests done, check out what's going on. So we did. By 1 o'clock that afternoon, we'd been told that she had a shadow on her brain. And that you need to get to Melbourne as quickly as you possibly can. So we had to rally the rally the kids and tell them what was going on in our family, because we didn't know. It was unexpected. We didn't know what was going to happen. As it turned out, it was a malignant brain tumour that was as big as a golf ball. And the tumour that we were dealing with accounts for 0.05% of all brain cancers. So we had an uphill battle. But the things that the farm had taught us, and especially the journey that we'd been through, was we needed to connect with people and surround ourselves with people that were going to be able to help us through our journey. So that's what we did. We connected with our family, got everyone around us. We also knew that we were strong enough to get through it, because the farm taught us that. Just like any business, it throws you all these things, but until something like a personal health issue, like Tori was talking about, health is paramount. But we knew we could get through it. So we fought. My wife fought a great battle, and I can proudly say today that she's fit and well. But that was when I thought, I've got to play a bigger game. I've got to be able to work out how I can relay what I've been through. And it's not dissimilar to most dairy farmers or business owners for that matter. People go through this journey. But I wanted to play a bigger game. I knew that I was capable of it. So I started developing more life skills, as I said, different jobs, all that. And all of a sudden there was a common theme started to come. And it was all about systems and how to lead people. But I had to start with myself, like I did back on the farm. I had that all down pat, so I had to then start developing systems to be able to then lead people. Because on the farms, I had 6 or 8, 10 people working under me, and until I could lead myself, I couldn't lead them. So I built systems, and that's one part of my business today. I do farm management, consulting to a number of farms where I'm not just on one farm, help them with their management systems. But also the other part is what I'm doing here today, and that's spreading my word, like my story, what I've been through, and how I've built my life and built a bigger picture. So where I am today, I'm an ambassador for a great children's charity, something 10 years ago I would never have thought I would be. I mentor a young kid at our local school, and I also help people that are going through the issues that I've been through and help them through imparting my story to them. So it's probably apt today that I'm speaking a little bit on mental health. No, it's not overly motivating, but the story behind where I've been and where I've got to is because for some people, they don't get to this stage. If I had been a Boy Scout, I wouldn't have got to today. But I was given a second chance. So I've decided to make the most of it. And it's probably, as I said, probably apt that I'm speaking today, because tomorrow is Are You OK Day. So if you take something away from today, is give your mate a ring tomorrow and just ask him, are you okay? Because that one conversation could save a life. So I thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of the speakers, and thank you very much.